Coming up today, Korea's central bank keeps its key interest rate unchanged for April following last month's surprise rate cut to a record low of 1.75%. The Japanese government continues to push its historical revisionism, this time promoting widely discredited claims that Japan ruled part of Korea many centuries ago. First, U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter arrives in Seoul this afternoon to discuss regional issues, including North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. These stories and more coming right up. Hello, it's noon on Thursday, the 9th of April. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thanks ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. We start with efforts to counter Japan's attempts to distort its historical wrongdoings. A private research institute in Korea says it has even more evidence to show that the Japanese military forced Korean women into sexual slavery before and during World War II. Despite the weight of historical evidence, the Abe administration in Japan continues to deny the women were coerced into serving soldiers. Oh Jin-ju starts us off.
The Japanese government says there is no evidence that Japan had forcibly recruited women for wartime sex slaves. But now, a Japanese document recently found by the Busan-based Korea-Japan Culture Research Institute is countering this claim. The document is a certificate issued in 1940 by Yoshihide Hayashi, who was at that time commander of the Taiwan Army Research Section. The certificate was intended for a director in charge of what they called comfort women stations. It says the director will be taking comfort women by force to Japan's army units in China and adds that these women are essential to the troops, so make sure that there is no difficulty for the director in making the crossing. Kim Moon-gil, head of the research institute that found the document, points out its significance.
It is a document showing that the Japanese army ordered the recruitment of the sex slaves. This is the first document that actually used the word that means forcibly took away.
On the document, the name and address of the director in charge of the brothels were erased. According to Kim, the absence hints that Tokyo is trying to deny its wartime atrocities when there's clear evidence.
All the names of the comfort women are also erased in the documents with black markers. It just shows that the Japanese government is trying to hide its past wrongdoings.
The institute found the document in a compilation of Japanese records published in 1997 by the Asian Women's Fund. The fund was set up by the Japanese government in the early 1990s to compensate victims of the country's military sexual enslavement before and during World War II. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
And staying with Japan's latest attempts at historical revisionism, and this example stretches back centuries to ancient times. Tokyo is strengthening widely rejected historical claims that it ruled over Korean territory more than 1,500 years ago. Son Jong-in has more.
This is a website for the Agency for Cultural Affairs under Japan's Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. The website introduces Japan's cultural heritage, including a gold crown, a sword decorated with dragon designs, and a wing-shaped crown ornament. They all date back centuries and were excavated from Changnyeong-gun County in Korea's southeastern Gyeongsangnam-do Province during the Three Kingdoms period. The assets, however, are recorded under the excavation site of Mimana, or Imna in Korean. The name comes from the theory of Imna by Japanese scholars. They claim Japan established a military outpost in southern part of the Korean peninsula and ruled over the territory known then as the Confederacy of Kaya from the end of 4th to the 6th century. The theory is rejected by the vast majority of Japanese historians due to the lack of evidence, but the claim is stated in most of the middle school history textbooks that were recently approved by Japanese government as a widely accepted theory. In another similar move, some books by right-wing publishers even include unfounded claims that the Japanese Yamato imperial court controlled the ancient Korean kingdoms of Baekje and Silla in the late 4th century, which enabled the ironware culture of Korea to flourish. From modern to ancient history, Japan's distortion of the past has become more conspicuous and persistent, dealing another blow to already frayed relations between Seoul and Tokyo at a time when there are mounting calls for better cultural and economic ties. 손정인, Arirang News.
U.S. Defense Chief Ashton Carter is set to arrive in Korea on Thursday afternoon. Now, this is his first visit to Seoul since becoming Defense Secretary in February. Officials say Carter will start his trip by meeting with American troops stationed here in Korea. On Friday, Carter will sit down for talks with South Korean Defense Minister Han Min-gu. Carter has said the goal of this trip is to reinforce deterrence against North Korean provocations and strengthen three-way military cooperation between Seoul, Washington and Tokyo. But local media outlets here in Korea are watching to see whether South Korea and the US will discuss the possible deployment to the Korean peninsula of its anti-ballistic missile system, also known as the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD. Senior diplomats from South Korea, the US and Japan are set to meet in Washington sometime next week. A high-ranking government official told reporters in Washington on Wednesday that a wide range of issues will be discussed during the trilateral meeting between South Korean Vice Foreign Minister Jo Tae-yong and his US and Japanese counterparts Tony Blinken and Akitaka Saiki. Watchers say the meeting is in line with Washington's push to help improve Seoul-Tokyo ties that, as we've been hearing, have hit new lows over historical and also territorial issues and restore trilateral security cooperation in the region. North Korea's nuclear program is also high up on the agenda. North Korea is holding its first major parliamentary meeting of the year on this Thursday, an event which could offer some insight into the regime's stability. The third session of the 13th Supreme People's Assembly brings together nearly 700 representatives from the country to discuss budget issues and affairs related with legislation. This time, the North is expected to unveil legislation on a new economic policy aimed at improving the livelihoods of the North Korean people. Experts say the session could offer a glimpse into the latest changes made in North Korea's power structure, as the regime could also appoint new officials at top state bodies. North Korea has expelled an American aid worker for engaging in, quote, plot breeding against the regime. The North Korean Central News Agency reported on Wednesday that U.S. citizen Sandra So secretly produced pictures and videos for overseas anti-North Korea propaganda under the pretense of humanitarian activities. Now, So is a founding member of the Los Angeles-based humanitarian organization called Wheat Mission Ministries, established back in 1989. The KCNA said So, who has traveled frequently to North Korea since 1998, apologized for her crimes and begged to be pardoned, citing the regime's generosity and So's advanced age, which hasn't been mentioned. Pyongyang decided to deport her, but her whereabouts are still unknown. In February, North Korea expelled an aid worker from a German aid group without offering an explanation. Now, Korea's central bank has decided to freeze its benchmark interest rate for April at a record low of 1.75%, following last month's unexpected cut. Shin Se-min reports.
The Bank of Korea's widely anticipated move is seen as a wait-and-see approach to assessing the impact of last month's rate cut. Following its monthly monetary policy meeting on Thursday, the central bank said that although consumer spending and investments showed signs of improvement, recovery is still slow. The central bank surprised many by lowering the rate in March for the second time in 5 months. Each reduction cut the rate by 0.25 percentage point, reflecting concerns that the domestic economy is suffering from slow consumer demand. The BOK added that so far the domestic economy has shown little sign of improvement since last year's rate cuts, with exports slowing every month this year and the economy expanding at its slowest pace since 2009 and the last quarter of 2014. The historic low rate of 1.75% has raised concerns that it is stoking household debt already in excess of $950 billion, which grew in tandem with the 2 rate cuts made in the second half of 2014, prompting buyers to cash in on the low interest rate. The Bank of Korea is expected to release an updated 2015 growth forecast later on Thursday, and market experts are forecasting that the predicted 3.4% expansion will be downgraded to 3%. 신세민, Arirang News.
The leader of Korea's main opposition party, Moon Jae-in, has criticized the current administration's economic policies and suggested that Korea aim for a fair distribution of wealth in order to overcome the present economic hardships the country is feeling. Moon's comments came during his first address to the full assembly since taking the reins of the New Politics Alliance for Democracy in February. Moon stressed that the ruling Saenuri Party's continuing policy of favoring conglomerates and the rich cannot heal the current economic problems, such as increasing income polarization, a record-high youth unemployment rate, and the highest senior citizen suicide rate in the OECD. He argued in favor of nurturing solid, small and mid-sized companies and called for stronger welfare programs. Now, with the April by-elections less than 3 weeks away now, registrations opened on this Thursday for candidates running for vacant parliamentary seats. The by-elections will be held in 4 districts, one in Seoul, one in Gyeonggi-do Province, one in Incheon and one in the southwestern city of Gwangju. Voters will select lawmakers to represent these constituencies for 1 year until next year's general elections. 3 of the seats were vacated by members of the far-left Unified Progressive Party, which was dissolved late last year for its pro-North Korea party doctrine and activities. The remaining seat was previously held by a ruling party lawmaker who lost his status due to a jail sentence. Candidate registrations close on Friday and official campaigning starts next Thursday. Another creative economy centre has opened, this time in Korea's southeast, the country's traditional manufacturing hub. The government hopes the new centre will modernise Korea's machinery and desalination industries. Song Ji-sun has the details.
The 9th addition to Korea's chain of creative economy innovation centres has opened in the country's southeastern Gyeongsangnam-do province. The area is Korea's traditional manufacturing hub, accounting for a quarter of the nation's total machinery exports. The government wants to transform traditional factories into smart factories that are equipped with automated and remote controllable systems as a way of combining machinery and ICT. The center will also seek to foster the water industry into a future growth engine. In line with the initiative's goal of having large companies help smaller firms turn their ideas into businesses, this center will be run by Tusan Heavy Industries and Construction, a world leader in the seawater desalination sector with over $1 billion in annual exports. But in order for these centers to function as startup support hubs, experts say they should be closely monitored and be attractive business propositions.
The concept of sharing large companies' know-how and technology with smaller firms is a creative idea and one that could be beneficial. But there needs to be incentives to ensure large conglomerates want to take part. There should also be measures to track a startup's progress, as they could end up merely becoming subcontractors of the larger partner.
With the launch of all 17 innovation centers set to be completed in the first half this year, the main task now is ensuring that the centers are making substantial contribution to launching startups as the country takes another step toward realizing President Park Geun-hye's drive for a creative economy. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Now, more than 2,000 people from around 40 countries are taking part in Asia's largest health and medical event, the Bio and Medical Korea Week, which is being held in Seoul through Friday. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Bio and Medical Korea event showcases the immense development of the country's medical and healthcare services, making it a destination for medical tourists around the world. Korea welcomed more than 1 million foreign patients for the first time earlier this year. During the event, the health ministry signed agreements worth $605 million to facilitate exports of its medical products and services. Those deals are in line with the government's emphasis on the medical industry as a key growth sector. One of the highlights of the event is the 10th anniversary celebration of the International Vaccine Institute, a non-profit organization in Korea working for the development and proliferation of new and improved vaccines. In collaboration with LG Electronics, one of Korea's leading tech conglomerates, the institute recently conducted a cholera vaccination campaign in Ethiopia. The cholera vaccine helps to prevent the spread of diseases incurred by consumption of unsanitary or contaminated food and water. President Park Geun-hye sent a video-recorded message offering her congratulations on the opening of the event and vowing to provide more government support for the development of the bio and medical technology. She expects the investment will contribute to improving the quality of life worldwide as well as create more jobs. Kim Jeon, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a wonderful day, and thanks as always for watching, and we do hope to see you at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.